a choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a rock.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expounding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding
reality.
Welcome to Expanding Reality. I am your host, Brandon Thomas. On this episode, I got the honor to sit down with Josh and Artemis from Prime Time. So this episode is UFOs, a little bit of spirituality, and then more UFOs. So like the perfect show. All the ways to find them, of course, guys, will be located down in the show notes. Down there as well as all the ways that you can expand your experience with us here on the show at expandingrealitypodcast.com. So check that out also if that's something you fancy. Let's get right to this amazing conversation, guys, with Artemis and Josh of Prime Time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everyone out there in listening world, reptilians, you know what, if you're listening, go ahead and chime in too. We have Josh and Artemis from Prime Time on to hang out with us. Super excited, guys. You guys are the most adorable thing in the UFO game, and it's a lot of fun to see the kind of stuff that you guys talk about. I mean, you've got Philip Mantle coming out. Your episode will be out before this airs, but Philip Mantle is like the OG for me when I started too. That's how I got hooked up with Flying Disc Press and got all of these amazing authors, dude. They are all incredible. That's like a whole family you open with working with that dude. He's just awesome. So you guys are wonderful, and like I said, I absolutely adore you. So let's do a couple quick introductions, and we'll get into some cool stuff here, guys. So Artemis, of course, I was raised well. We'll let ladies go first. So
okay, yeah. So yeah, my name's Artemis. We've been doing Primetime for like a month-ish, but yeah. I've been in the topic for publicly since like June. Behind the scenes, like on and off, like I've always been interested in this topic, space, like sci-fi, I don't know, all the good stuff, really. I was always curious about the topic. I always thought that there was life out there. It was never really a question for me. I never really looked into it or anything, or went into that in high school or anything. But it's always been kind of in and out between that and like paranormal kind of stuff. So in high school, me and some girlfriends did like dabble into that a little bit. But yeah, and in the recent years, that's when I kind of started actually paying more attention, listening to more podcasts, finding more researchers online. Once I discovered UFO Twitter, that was a whole other thing, a whole other world. But it's been just a lot of learning. And then when I decided to go kind of more public was when I started helping on the Unidentified Celebrity Review and Singularity Lab. So I was doing more like producer kind of stuff behind the scenes. And then, I kept saying that we need more women in the topic just to get, a broader perspective and different, points of view. And eventually they were like, well, why don't you just start doing things? And I'm like, at first I'm kind of like me, like, why, who am I to do that? But then I kind of realized that if I do want more women in the topic, I have to advocate that as well. And so I kind of had to get over my own fears and just start putting myself out there. And then I started going actually on the show, little bits here and there, which was really cool. And then people started wanting to actually interview me, which was crazy and also really cool. And yeah, it's been so much of a journey for me, and like really discovering my own purpose and like where I see myself going now. And, even just 6 months ago, if somebody told me this is where I would be, it'd be like, I wouldn't believe them. But I feel really thankful and really happy to be on this like journey. So yeah.
What's incredible, and you do a wonderful job, and you were meant to be here, and that's why you're here. I do like the irony of the deepness that you manifested in your mind in a situation where more women needed to be in the field. And then when the opportunity came out to actually lead in that position, you're like, oh, no, not me. And it was that position that you created for yourself because your future self knew that this is what you're supposed to be doing. That's pretty cool. I love that kind of stuff. Josh, man, go ahead, man. What you got going over there?
Yeah, so a similar sort of story, really. I mean, I've only been online doing this in public since June of this year. So that's when I started my page on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, really. It's actually down to Vinny, really. I know you've spoken to him before.
Yeah.
Me and him were talking in like the background for a few weeks before I started my page on Instagram. And he was kind of the one who gave me that push and confidence to kind of say that I need to come online and just start showing my face more, and that's when I started to do some like lives with him, and I went on a couple of his shows, and it kind of went from there, and then now I'm here doing the page, doing like the show with Artemis. But prior to coming online, I've been researching this for quite a long time. I got into it when I was quite young. It was in primary school, so you guys in like the States would say grade school. So I was probably about 8 or 9, really. And my interest sort of peaked when we used to have like a library, which used to come to my school. And for some reason, there was like a UFO book there, and I found it. And it was just a picture book and just full of pictures of UFOs, just drawings and photographs of UFOs. And that kind of sparked like the interest I had. And from there, I kind of started to watch shows like The X-Files, and there was a show in the UK called Strange But True Encounters, which was also really good. Then you had like Goosebumps and things, which is more like the paranormal side of things, but it's still kind of in that area. And then when I got into my teens, that's when I started to use the internet. But back then it was dial-up internet, so it was really hard to research anything really because of the internet speed. But I started to research a lot more. I read loads of books. I watched the documentaries with people like Stanton Friedman. So that's kind of where that all came from. And then I kind of took a bit of a break. I was in school, so the research and, my interest was always kind of in the background at that point. But when I finished university, I moved to China. I was a teacher over there for about 4 years. So in China, like the censorship and things like that, it was very hard to do any sort of research there at all. So my UFO interest kind of went in the background for a few years. It was only when I came back to the UK, I was about 25, 26. That's when I started to really research it again. So for the past 5 or 6 years, that's when I've been really doing the research properly. And then now I'm here with, I've met Artemis, and we've started our channel, and like Artemis just said before, it's just crazy how things work out.
It's amazing. First of all, that book in the library younger was definitely a synchronicity, man. It's like one of those really cool things. I mean, there's no reason that would have been in there, right? It's yes, imaginative, but you're right. That's very interesting. Second, just what part of China were you in?
It was in a province called Guangdong, which is it's like southeast China. So if you can imagine Hong Kong, which is like the island off like the mainland China, Guangdong province is just on the mainland, so you have to cross over the border to get there. So that's where I was. So yeah, it was a really interesting experience, and because of the place I was teaching at, it was kind of like, it wasn't a city, it was like a large sort of town. But I was only like the only foreign guy there. So to be like in a minority for the first time in my life was an interesting experience, to say the least. But it was really cool to be there and to be out of my comfort zone. It allowed me to grow and just get some confidence. And yeah, it was just a really cool experience. Really enjoyed it.
I had a similar experience, but only for a month, not for 4 years. I did go there on tour, and I toured 18 cities in a month. Oh, wow. And it was amazing. The furthest south that we went was like Kunming and Wuhan and stuff like that. and Guiyang, but gorgeous, man. And I don't know if you noticed that too, but it's more beautiful the more south you go.
It is, yeah.
Jesus, man. It was, anyway, great people, great everything, right? And an eye-opening experience for sure. Beautiful culture. So let's talk about Primetime. So where did that come from?
Well, me personally, I wanted to start a channel for a while. Well, not a while, but since I've been online since June, I had the idea that I wanted to kind of do my own channel, but I wanted it to be a bit different to everybody else's, because what I noticed when I came online, you had all the usual podcasts, but you always had the same guests on. It was just the same, a rotation of guests, and it's not boring, but you kind of want to see someone new. You want some new ideas. So that was kind of the like the angle that I wanted to go down personally. And then me and Artemis met, and we decided to just do one together because she was really interested in doing one as well. And that's where Primetime came from. So we've only been doing it for, I think it's about a month now, just over a month. So yeah, we're still learning. Obviously, we're still really nervous when we do our shows. Like we did one last night. We had Christina Gomez, UFO Jane, and bottled water. Which was really good. But it's just really cool that I can do that with the person I love. It kind of just adds a new flavor to the mix, if that makes sense, and it just makes it interesting. And we kind of have this way of working together, which is really good. And it's a bit harder now because I've come back to the UK for a couple of weeks. This is kind of the first time we've done a show which has been apart, and it was harder than usual just because we usually bounce off each other. And, when like I get nervous or she gets nervous, we kind of hold our hand with, just to make sure that we're both okay. So yeah, it's cool though.
Well, I'm stringing you two together across the sea here. I'm stringing you two.
Yeah.
So Artemis, when was the first moment that you knew that you just wanted to kiss Josh in the face?
As soon as I saw a picture of him.
That's a great answer. Damn, just a picture. Okay. You didn't even wait. I love it. Okay. What I like about... Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say you're absolutely adorable. I just want good things for you. Okay. So, and what's funny is Vinny was talking about this as well, that you guys do a lot of work, in the background, and you do your own research and things like that. But what I love about the numbers and what's coming out now is because it does offer such a variety of new perspectives. And it's like you said, man, there is a fine balance between having somebody on consistently and then also popping in new stuff with new topics all the time. And that, that's just an interesting balance. There are some people that really make it work with a handful of guests, and that's great. But it is, and I agree with you. The reason it's not a model that I follow, again, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's because I don't want to get caught in an echo chamber. I'm here to expand reality, and we do that through talking about all kinds of shit, like all kinds of shit. So you have to go through those routes, and with more people coming online, with especially some background work that y'all have been doing as independent researchers out there, and you're finally coming out and going, hey guys, I'm here. I'm ready to talk about this openly, and I've got a few things that maybe y'all haven't looked at. So let's talk about it. What was one of those for you? Have you guys connected any dots doing the independent research and then kind of come up with your own ideas, independent of really coming forth with that?
Yeah, well, with me personally, because it's kind of like the China connection with me. We had Chuk Fei on our show, who's like he's a Hong Kong-based UFO researcher. So we kind of want to go down the route of trying to get more people from abroad, more people from different parts of the world to get a different perspective on the topic, especially from places like China and maybe Russia or something as well, to get that perspective, especially with what's going on with the UFO world now, where there's like debate or if these craft could be from those countries. It would be good to get a perspective from someone who's actually there doing the research to find out some more information if that could be the case or not. So with me, that's kind of like a really big reason why I want to do the channel, is to get these different guys on or girls from these different places in like the world to get that new perspective.
I had a young lady named Xiao Ma on the show. Absolutely fascinating. She's in Australia now, but she's Chinese. And so she is going to come back on, because we talked about her spiritual awakening, her UFO encounter, all kinds of stuff. She's fascinating. I'm going to hook y'all up. And she's going to come back on and talk about Chinese UFO cases, because when you think about it, I don't know a lot of Chinese UFO cases. I couldn't point one out to you right now.
Same.
Right.
Same,
Yeah.
And so it's like you said, though, there's some, and then she's also got people in Japan that do the same thing. So again, we'll expand this network, and that's what's so beautiful about this. And I'm sure you guys have figured this out too, that this industry is incredible. Like, we all just want to help each other and get it out there. We're like, yeah, go for it.
That's what it's all about, is we all want the same thing. We're just, we're on different paths, like different like streets in a city, but we're all heading into the same direction. So, and there's no like right or wrong way to get there. It's just different points of view, different parts of the world with different things happening. But working together makes us stronger and makes us wiser and helps us grow. So that's what we want to do, is just connect with people from everywhere, and especially, people who are in that country and, experiencing that for themselves. It's different than even just us doing research and looking up like UFO cases in Russia. Let's get somebody who's actually from Russia talking to them, and they're the ones like doing that research locally and probably getting a lot more information than we would ever get online. So it's just making those connections and like building those bridges, really.
Yeah, could not agree more. There's no like competition in this. There's no winners.
No.
Because you only lose by not playing the game. You know what I mean? And this is how we do it. It's the most beautiful community I've ever been a part of. So I just have to brag on everybody in this. And as you were talking about that, I had this visual of that we're all kind of moving through this really cool, dense, magical forest together, like as people having this experience, right? And we're all walking one direction in this forest. But you could take your time getting to the end of it. We all have like a common, you could see the light at the end. That's where we're heading, right? And as we go along, we find little different flowers and rocks and sticks and little animals, and we come across different things in different parts of that area of this imaginary forest that we're walking through, this metaphor. But you wouldn't have been able to share that thing that you found with somebody who wasn't in the same area with you, because you were covering different ground. You were discovering different mysteries in a different path along the same plane of existence that we're all kind of moving through here. And when you start picking up little things like UFO cases in like Russia and China and Japan, like what we're talking about, and really kind of expanding the variety, but doing it in a way to where it is people who that's what they do and they're from there. And my grandfather like found this wreckage, and it was crazy, all in Russian or whatever. And but those things really can drop new pins and connections for all this stuff. So let me just ask you, where are you at in your research of the UFO phenomena? What do you think the phenomena is? Do you think it's defined by you guys as of yet?
It's a good question. It's a hard question. There's a lot of theories. With me personally, I'm not even sure, because there's so many. I don't really know what to believe of it. Just because, I've been researching it for quite a long time, and I've seen it before where we've got our hopes up, and you think we're on the right path, and you think we're going to get some sort of a disclosure, and then it doesn't take place. So I'm kind of still on the fence now. I do know we've got I forgot Miss Haynes. She's come out. She did the press conference in Washington a few days ago. You've got Bill Nelson from NASA. He's come out. He's talked about this. So you're getting some really big people within like the intelligence community. They're coming out and talking about this now. But I'm still on the fence, because at the end of the day, these are the people. These are the people who are part of these organizations who are keeping this secret for so long. I think we do still have to be skeptical about it. I've got an open mind, but I'm also skeptical at the same time. So that's where I am. I don't really have an answer in terms of what I believe it could be. But if I could put like my finger on it now, it's definitely got it has to be ET. It has to be. But until we get that definitive evidence, until we get that definitive data, which we haven't seen yet. We still haven't seen this data. We've been told this data. We haven't actually seen it yet. So that's what we've got to remember. We've got to still just be skeptical a bit.
Artemis, what wave are you riding with this?
I do have a level of skepticism as well, but I think when I think about what it could be. I think it's not just one answer. I think it could be it could be future us, it could be ET, it could be, interdimensional beings, it could be that they live also on the planet, just maybe within our oceans, or I don't know, in another dimension that we can't even understand. I mean, I'm pretty open to each of these theories, just because we don't have any answers. So why I'm not going to discriminate one against another when I don't know, and neither does anybody as far as we know. So, and it could just be also our technology too. Like, I think we're also probably, advanced, more advanced privately than we are publicly. But yeah, I don't think it's just one answer or just one type of being, whether it's human or non-human.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a mixture of everything. That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Because of we've seen how many different types of crafts and in all of our history. So it could be such a multitude of different ETs and us. So who knows?
Yeah.
I love that you guys are hooking up with Philip Mantle, because this whole bookshelf back here, half of that is Philip Mantle's Flying Disc Press books. And when you talk to people like Paul Askoff or Ryan Musgrave Evans, it's awesome. That is where the expansion in kind of the perception goes, right? And that's like the beautiful thing. I have a lot of deep thoughts on what the fuck reality is and all that kind of shit. And that really is. What's
your thoughts on like the phenomenon? What do you think it is?
So I usually preface this by saying, I can tell you what I think, because of course I'm going to caveat this that I don't plant my flag. I don't have a firm idea on anything, but I have some, thought experiments that I've gone down that I favor because they're fun and for no other reason. I mean, it's just fun to think about it that way, right? And I think life can be reduced to that, just your enjoyment of it. And staying mysterious might be part of that. It stays mysterious because it's fun. So I think that, but it also, though, when you zoom out, you can explain it a bunch of different ways. It's either any of the things that Artemis said. I completely agree. Now, it would really blow your mind of what if it's all of it? What if it's all of it? Or what if, Terrence McKenna and a bunch of other people have been saying that it's just a psychosemantic thing. We're creating it. It's like a tulpa, or the Earth is manifesting it in some fashion, and making it look like things that would, mimicry in nature is found all the time with little wings of moths that look like owls so they don't get eaten by the owls, right? Or the birds that prey. Yeah. So it can be a multitude of things. Now, but then you have to ask yourself a bigger question than that. And that is, what is this reality? What is this place? You know what I mean? Because we're all brought up, most of us, on the ball Earth thing and the here's how old Earth is, and that, dinosaurs were a thing and all that. But it's quite possible that all of that is just a manufactured story and that we live in some sort of simulation or a matrix. In that case, an explanation that I would say would be just a program or an artifact of the matrix. It's kind of like an extra level here. I kind of picture this whole damn thing as a game, and we're all just here to just play. That's it. I really do think that's it. And so, but there's different cheat codes and things like psychedelics. That's a cheat code here. It shows you a different version of reality that's right there all the time.
I like your analogy, honestly.
I went really deep.
We're big gamers, so
see, and
speaking our tune. Yeah.
Well, and this is why I like referring it to that way, because everyone's heard of the simulation argument. It's a fascinating one, and I think it's awesome. But I think also that we needed video games and in the concept of NPCs to really have the vernacular to describe the idea. I would describe it as more of an organic matrix, right? It's like a spiritual matrix. It's definitely a system of some type. You can see this in long and short repetitious cycles, all kinds of things, right? And then NPCs are crazy. Have you ever contemplated that? The thoughts of non-player characters just walking around everywhere? Have you ever thought of that?
I went really deep into it before. In terms of the simulation theory, I've got really high in the past, and I went really deep into that before. And you kind of touched on it a little bit there. In terms of UFOs, I went really deep into this once. And I used to think that UFOs, when I was really high once, that like we were in like a simulation, but UFOs were kind of in here, kind of correcting things which were wrong within the program. That's why they were here. That was kind of like a deep thought I had once. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's like fixing glitches in the Matrix. It's like computer programmers that are flying in. They're like just clocking in for their day job. They put a hard hat on. They're like, I got to get on a shitty Earth today and fix some broken battery. And it's fun though. And I like but I like the simulation perspective because it allows your mind a nice framework. Because in video games like you guys, I mean, you're the observer, right? And that's kind of like what the whole idea is, right? Is to be the observer. You're dispassionate. Like you enjoy, you feel, you emote. But you don't like take shit personally and everything like happens right on time every time. Like it's all perfect. If you kind of walk through it with that whimsy, it's easy. Like life is easy at that point. It's so cool because you just don't have to take it so seriously, right? Because it's just a fun game. But when applied to like the phenomena and stuff like that, it doesn't negate the fact that it's all the same thing, and that's kind of where I've come to since you asked, and I'm answering your question in a long ass way, but that's kind of where I am with it. I kind of feel that this reality is a bunch of different things, and so from the framework of the different things, it's like opening a different book and going, oh, in this sci-fi novel, their ships can do warp speed, and then I open a flying disc press book and those can't. It's just different, there's different rules and different kind of filters that you put on when you think about shit.
For sure, and that's the thing, about the topic. There's so many different theories and angles that you can take with it, and it's just interesting people's perspectives. Like I'm open to everything with this topic. I'm interested in each person's opinion because we don't know the answer to all of this, so we kind of have to leave every door open. We have to explore things as best we can with all these theories and try to come up with the answers together. And I'm like you. I'm really open-minded to this. So I'm just interested to hear all these theories. It's just so cool to hear them for me. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so much fun. And so the question though that I really have been asking a lot of folks that are kind of newer to popping out, right? I just want to ask you this. So do you think that disclosure is important? Yeah, I mean, in terms of disclosure, it's like a philosophical one for me because in a way it's the fundamental part of it is truth, and that's what we all want, not just in terms of the UFO world, but in life, in our daily lives. We want truth, we want faith, we want a commitment, we want all those things. And I think it's kind of like a metaphor, really. You could kind of see it as like a metaphor for our life about it, if like you kind of want to go deep into it, like the UFO phenomenon. And I kind of touched on it. We did like an interview with this guy called Truth Seeker a couple of days ago. Yeah, I saw it. It was really good.
Yeah, and he was a really cool guy. And I kind of touched on it there where the connection between the phenomenon and like a religion, because most of the time we're kind of treating this, in terms of theories we have and like opinions we have on the topic, most of it's based on faith. So in a way, I've kind of always seen it as kind of like a religion to me. And I think you also touched on it before where you said it was like a mystery. I think the topic needs it to be a mystery, if that makes sense. It needs it to be a mystery. I think, I'm not sure what we'll all do once it comes out, Exactly. I'm really not sure. Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. It's those questions, man. That's the shit I'm talking about. Artemis, disclosure. What do you think? Go for it. Does it matter to you?
Of course it matters. I do think, I agree with what Josh was saying, and like, it's kind of it just to give us like more meaning and like purpose, I guess, to have that disclosure and to feel like we do know the truth of like where we came from or where we're going. But I don't think disclosure is going to be like perfect. And I mean, I think everyone agrees that we're not going to just get like all this information from the government all of a sudden, but they have already confirmed it in the news. So like their job is like done, basically. They don't necessarily have to go into any more detail. And the more they talk and the more that they release, the worse that they'll look. And the less that their people will follow, because they won't know what to believe anymore, and they won't have that trust in the government the same way. So they're never going to risk that. And so I don't know what that necessarily looks like, but it's probably going to be more up to like the public and like the work that we're all doing, and collectively, I don't know, that, or like hopefully some spaceships land and we can just have like a Phoenix Light moment, but in 2021, that'd be pretty cool.
That's always intrigued me, the Phoenix Lights, because, you know, that happened in like an era. It was like the 90s. I think it was 97. Yeah. You know, and it's curious as to why, if that was an ET craft, why would it be in the 90s and not now? You know, like, do they know that we can kind of, you know, but we've got this way of like recording this now that, you know, with our phones, that, you know, we've all got a cell phone now. We've all got access to some sort of camera or photograph, you know, like a way to do it. But back in the 90s, we didn't, you know, we had to wheel out the camcorder, which was like 10 foot tall or whatever. Yeah. And, you know, so
whoever had a handheld was like a rich family, not like the average like family.
And it was the size really of one of those little Power Wheel cars too, you know, that you had to throw on your shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always intrigued me, how, you know, maybe these beings, or, you know, the words you like to use for them, maybe they know what we're capable of in terms of that side of things as well. So that's kind of been interesting to me.
I'm going to offer a couple things, and only because I love you both. Artemis, whenever you mentioned that we would get it from the government and that would validate our existence, it hits me in my spine, and I'm not going to let it go, because, again, I adore you, and I'm going to fast track you on some life shit. So none of life is found external from you. No one outside of you has autonomy over you. You know the truth. And here's why I think that the phenomena displays itself in the way that it does. And here's why I think that disclosure is not important. I'm answering my own question. I don't think it's important. And the reason is because as somebody that's looked into conspiracy theories, I got into the conspiracy theory game and spiritual awakening and psychedelics all in the year of 2001. Right on time, right? And so whenever I started going down that rabbit hole, there was a guy when I was 18, I was waiting tables. It was like table 13. I'll never forget this moment. It's one of those aha moments, you know, one of those boom. And this dude was reading the newspaper, and he was the only one in there. So I was just serving him coffee and shit, and I would walk by and we'd hang out and talk or whatever. And he was reading the newspaper. He goes, "Can you believe this?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Can you believe this?" And he just read something out of the newspaper. He goes, "That's total horseshit." And it had never hit me before that they would print something that wasn't true. Like, it just wasn't on my radar. It was like, again, this wake up moment. And he goes, "You got to read between the lines and you got to question everything." And dude, that, like I said, that just stuck the fuck with me. And so what I wanted to say is that I've had and I think we all have, at a conscious or unconscious level, a very toxic relationship with all of our governments for the past 70, 100 years. So anything that they tell you, in my opinion, is going to be, number one, a lie. They're never going to tell you the full truth of what it is, if they even know it all, which that's a total polar opposite, which is a fun rabbit hole to go down on either side. But if they do tell you anything, it is going to be not only a lie, but it's going to be to their benefit, not yours. It is going to remove more of your rights and give more control to them. And that's the way that this works. It's like a game of inches, right? They push a little bit and then we push back, but they've taken that inch. And so this stair-step lies back and forth and everything. It's why I don't think that, number one, if the government comes out and looks for disclosure, I go, shit. It's okay, well, what's going to happen now, right? And the other part about this, and why I think the phenomena displays itself this way, is because it's independent researchers and experiencers that are tackling this topic. Scientists won't get paid and actively shunned if they research this topic. They won't get funding for it. So it's something that's a taboo topic that they openly ignore despite mounds of evidence. And again, I think if we're in some sort of matrix, this is a game and you're here to figure out what side you're on, it's obvious. It's like bright light shining over there going, this is not you, this is the bad shit, and you're here to fight against that, right? Or experience the opposite of that. So the government has no autonomy over you. I want to empower you is why I went on this huge fucking rant right now, because it's you that knows this. And this is why I think grassroots researchers are the ones that come up with the best ideas for this. And that's why also I think it's kind of left for us to discover the real characters in the game, not the NPCs that are controlling things to be adversarial just as part of the experience. So now that I got that out of the way, like I said, it's just I care about you. I just hate to see somebody that doesn't know that you're so powerful. That's it. I just want you to remind you of how fucking powerful you are. Okay.
It's powerful, for sure.
So, but let's talk about in the world of the disclosure does matter. What are the implications of that? What do you think, like the day after or the moment of, like someone gets up on a podium and some dude tells you, hey, aliens are real. So what does that look like?
I mean, unless it's actually going to change our world, like it's kind of already happening. People don't care what's been going on in the news, so nothing's really going to change. If you still have bills to pay, if you still have mostly just bills, really. If you have bills to pay, you're still going to go to work. You're still going to take care of your family or do whatever you have to do, because them saying, yeah, there's aliens, it's not really going to, of course, it's going to impact people maybe on the mental health side if they're paying attention to it. But a lot of people already have mental health problems and are already struggling or stressed or just wrapped up in their own lives that, they're on survival, that, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's like, unless it's changing our society and the way we live, in that instant, then it's not going to do much. People aren't going to react.
And that's the thing, right? We want the technology to benefit humanity. That's the other reason I hope it's not the military that gets a hold of that shit. I mean, I'm pretty sure they already have it. It's us that need it so that we can, give free energy to everybody. You know what I mean? Because I've said it before. I mean, the mark of a society is if one kid goes hungry, you're garbage. That's the word. You're only as good as that one starving kid that goes hungry. It's pathetic
that we still have that poverty still exists anywhere in the world. It's absolutely pathetic. We don't need billionaires. And I'll never forget when it was of course sad, but when the Notre Dame building was burning, billions of dollars were donated within the first
day,
48 hours.
It was a psyop. That was money laundering. That they burned it on purpose.
Yeah. But the fact that all of a sudden people could give away billions and it was okay. And it's well, where the hell is that support for humans? That's a fucking building at the end of the day. Yeah. And we're not taking care of ourselves. It's insane. So we're barbaric in that sense for sure to even let it happen.
Agreed. And that's it. It's not, the primitiveness of a society doesn't have to do with its technology. It's what it does with its technology to benefit the people. And you're absolutely right. 100% agree. And I love your passion in this. Get it, girl. See, look at that warrior goddess. So, Josh, what do you think that looks like? They go up, they say, all right, mate, UFO's real, cheerio, hit the pub. And then what do we do?
Well, first of all, the accent was great.
Was it? That. Oh, thank God. I worked on it all day. I wrote this down. I really worked on it. This whole episode's been building to that one thing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. But in terms of that side of things, the day after disclosure, I think Artemis and yourself have summed it up great there. I don't think it's going to matter to the average person. I really don't. I mean, I think there will be some scared people there, of course, because in general, in terms of human beings, we're always kind of scared of the unknown. So if the government did come out and say, look, there's aliens, we don't know why they're here, then there will be some scared people because people need to know why they're here. But I think if they came out and said, there's aliens or there's some beings here, and they explained why they're here, I think that might be more acceptable to people. But, in terms of what you both have just said there about, people at the end of the day, they're just going to be wrapped up in their own lives. They've got their families, they've got their friends, they've got their jobs, they've got bills to pay, and in terms of the world, as long as the wheels are still turning, in like regards to that side of things, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. That's why I think it needs to come out, because I think as a species, you know, this isn't 50 years ago now, it's 2021, you know.
I think we need this, really.
Yeah. And I do believe that we're kind of on the edge of a new era of science and philosophy, and also religion as well. I think a religion will change a lot. I think maybe it might bring religions together for the first time. You know, there's always been so much division between, you know, the religious community, you know. I think it might kind of bring everyone together. That's my hope. That's my hope that's what it would do. But, you know, we'll see, I guess.
But then it's like, to which religion? I mean, everyone will say theirs is the right one. That's the only
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, we're still at the end of the day human. So
yeah.
unless the alien was like, actually, this is the religion that kind of got it right, and all of the other ones, like, you guys are idiots.
Did you guys ever see that South Park that did that? Everybody,
No,
okay, so everybody goes to hell.
That show, but I haven't seen that one.
Oh my god, I forget what the episode is. It's something about the world ending. Anyway, it's I forget it. Anyway, but they all go to hell, and everybody's like standing there, and they're on this huge area, and the guy's like at hell, giving the orientation. He's like, "All right, welcome to hell," and they stand up. They're like, "Hey, I was a Christian my whole life. What the hell happened?" He's like, "Yeah, I was a devout Catholic," and this guy's like, "Yeah, I was a Buddha," and the guy goes, "Oh, yeah, the answer was Mormons. Sorry, it was Mormons," and everybody goes, "Oh," and it's like that. Right. And so, you know, okay, well, let's go down this, you know, I mean, this is what we do here. So what do you guys think that has to do with? You have a religious affiliation, or are you more spiritual, or what does that look like in your life?
Yeah, well, I'm not a religious person. I don't follow like a religion as such, but I'm definitely a spiritual person. I'm kind of like an agnostic, really. And I think I touched on it before, that I've kind of seen that the UFO topic as kind of like a religion, because most of the time you're basing this on faith, you're basing this on belief and what you believe something is, and how that kind of affects you as a person, you know. And with me personally, this topic, it's such a huge part of my life, but yet I can't prove that it's real, you know. So in a way, this is my religion, if that makes sense. You know, that's kind of how I see it.
It makes complete sense. And you know what I thought of whenever you're saying this? Because Diana Pasulka's book, American Cosmic, and she talks a lot about this. And it's about like the hierophanies, like Roswell. It's a place where the gods come and actually physically touch on Earth. So Roswell is like the UFO community's one, and it does. It feels a lot like a religion. But something I was just thinking of when you were saying that is, it's interesting. I'm not an experiencer. Are you guys experiencers?
No, I've had some ghost stuff in like the past, but I haven't had like a UFO experience. No.
Totally counts. Artemis?
I've had paranormal stuff. I've seen like interesting things in the sky that I can't explain, but not like any concrete, like, you know, experiences.
I think that, Josh,
no contact.
Okay, and same, right? Same. No, not that I remember. Now we can go super deep on that we've all been abducted. Yeah. They just don't let us remember.
Not
right?
consciously.
Exactly. But you know what? You know what it
reminded. So I have really vivid dreams, and like, I'm aware that I'm like on different like planets, if that makes sense. It's crazy. So I do have really cool dreams.
Okay, so you do lucid dreaming stuff. I want to get into that in a second, but so I lost it. That's okay. That's okay. It was ridiculous anyway. Oh, no. So, okay, to what you said about comparing it to a religion, it's fascinating. Okay, think about this. People back in the day used to say, okay, a snake was in a garden and it told this lady to do an apple, and so they have this whole belief system on it. They weren't there, but the account got passed down and enough people believed it that just became fact. Now, what's interesting too about, like, if you think about this applying to the UFO phenomenon, and I may be very self-deprecating here, I don't know if the fucking UFOs really exist at all or what they are, but we're basing this off of other people's stories, other people's information. And a lot of people do this with everything. Now, what's interesting and why I think it's okay is because everything's okay. You just do whatever the hell you want here. But we gravitate towards that because it resonates with us as truth. So therefore, and again, in my mind, I kind of think of this whole thing as like a choose your own adventure. Do you remember those books, those choose your own adventure books?
Yeah.
You go to like page 20 and then it go to page 40. That's kind of what this is. And so we have like choose your own adventure. We're like, oh shit, aliens are a thing? Yeah, let's go check that out. That's pretty cool. I love, again, these different perspectives and connections to different things. And I think the religious tie-in is not a bad one, man. But Artemis, what do you think? Are you more spiritually or...
Yeah, I've never been religious. I am a Greek Orthodox, but like even growing up, like my parents weren't very religious. We kind of did it because that's what Greeks do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, it's like you have a kid, you baptize them. It's like you just like that's just what you do.
Yeah, it's just the way.
Yeah, and you know, my dad especially, he's like very, very traditional Greek, like from Greece. So, you know, we grew up in like a weird, I guess, non-religious environment. He was more into like the Star Trek, like Xena, Hercules. Like we would watch all of the good stuff.
Hell
Oh my God, I love Xena.
Good pull.
Like so good. So like I grew up on like all the, like me and my dad would watch that, and my sister was like 6 years older, and she'd be like, nerd, and I'd be like, whatever, I love it. So I would be like the one watching all this stuff, but then it got me really into it, and like always just fascinated. Like at one point I wanted to be like some kind of scientist, or like I don't know, like an astrophysicist or whatever. Like I just had so many different interests in that field. But as far as like being religious, I never really associated the two. Now being in the UFO topic a lot more, I'm definitely a lot more spiritual, and like I would say agnostic as well. And I don't discredit the fact that like there's probably a lot of information in these old Bibles across all these different religions, like whatever they're called and their designated religions. Like there's probably a lot of information in there that we can still relate to today, or like interpret differently today, and understand a little differently as to what maybe some of these meanings are. And I think it is all connected to whatever the truth is and whatever is out there. I think we do need to look at the history, because like even like, you know, the pyramids are like ancient civilizations, and just everything that we are reading, like, and even in hieroglyphs, like where you can see like spaceships or alien figures, like all in this, like, and that's all history. So I think, you know, there is more to it, and it's a lot more linked than the average person might think, or even a religious person might think. It's a lot more linked.
Yeah, and don't get me started on alternative history. Go nuts on that shit. I love that stuff. We get tossed into Tartaria and the mud flood, and I just won't stop talking about it. You know, but what's interesting about this is the variety of beliefs, the variety of interactions, the variety of things that happen here. I think it's all correct. Again, I don't think this place is that dire. I just think it's here for experience. So I don't think anybody has it right. I also don't think that there's a bad place to go. And then we're just putting a bow on that part of the topic here. So what do y'all think is next for this? Where do you see the mindset of the collective consciousness when it comes to extraterrestrial craft, UFOs, UAPs, whatever we're calling them this week, right? In the next 5 to 10 years, where do you think we'll be? Josh, what do you think?
Well, I'm hoping if I've got my positive hat on right now, I'm hoping that in the next 5 years, everything's going to be out in the open. You know, and we're going to be interacting with these beings on like a regular basis, sharing ideas of these things, you know. But I'm not so sure. Just because of the history and what's happened in the past, I'm not sure if the powers that be, who have had control of this for so long, if they're able to let that go, you know. And how is that going to affect, you know, in terms of like the industry, in terms of coal and petrol and things like that? You know, once this information does come out, all those major companies, they're gone effectively, you know. I don't know if these people are ready to give up that power, if that makes sense, you know. So I've got to hope that things will be out in like the open next 5 to 10 years. But even if they're not, that's fine as well. You know, we can still all work towards that same goal. And, you know, the one thing I've learned in this topic is you've got to be really patient, and you've got to be really understanding, and you've got to be really open-minded too. And that's what we've still got to. So even if this doesn't come out in the next 5 or 10 years, that's literally fine with me. I don't have any issues with that. Like you said before, this is all going to be down to us anyway. So the more we work together, the more we collaborate and share ideas, the better it's going to be for everybody. So you've just got to hope that we're on that path still. And try not to think about the government. And I can see people now that have come out, there's Lou Elizondo, for example, most of the people in the community, they seem to think that he's like a messiah and he's the one who's going to bring this all out, which might be the case. I hope it is, but I'm still very much on the fence about it all. And I think that's the best place to be with it. And I think Lou's actually said that himself when he's come out in interviews. He's actually said, you need to be skeptical of every person, including him. So I think people need to remember that. And also remember, like you touched on earlier, with the government, you can't really believe a word they say. You just can't.
It's just about discernment. And that's why I think it's so obvious. It's like the obvious, not the right choice. But you got to learn that, right? In this dualistic reality, whatever this is, right? There's obvious kind of dualistic rules here. And they're only here, not as good, bad, just what serves you, what doesn't. Again, that's just what I kind of entertain. And so they're over there. They're not you. You'd have the option. You can go do that if you'd like, but you don't have to. It's nothing's being forced on you in that way. Well, so what do you think, do you think ever like a mass contact or anything like that'll happen?
I did talk about it briefly about the Phoenix Lights. I would love it if we had a Phoenix Lights part 2, for example.
Like a real one though, where they go like independent style, but not to destroy us, hopefully. And they show up all at once and very, very obvious. No hiding anything,
That could be the case. I mean, I think Artemis, we've talked about this before. Like you've kind of said to me that maybe when we're ready as a species, in terms of like the consciousness between us, in terms of all like the people within the world, when we can all finally,
when we're at peace with
when we're at peace,
each other.
Maybe at that point we'll get some sort of big reveal, and a huge craft will turn up and like reveal themselves when like we're actually at that place. And in terms of our brains, when we're able to receive that information, when we're able to process it, that might happen in the future. But I think I'd be very surprised if it happens in the next year or two, if I'm honest. But I've got to hope it would happen, but I'm really not sure.
It's what we want, right? We're just like, come on,
man.
man.
I want it to happen.
Come on, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
And that's why it's interesting too, and I was talking to Kathleen Martin about this, and she made a great point that it's kind of a vibrational thing. It's like of people who are on the vibrational level to experience that are the ones that experience it. It's interesting. And again, it's kind of like it's a cheat code. It's kind of a bonus level to this place. It's like, you've already kind of beaten the religion thing and you've already beaten, the other stuff. So let's give you something fun. Your next level is this, and you get this ability. You can kind of talk about this and your, world opens up a little bit more. Okay. So we will probably wrap it up here in just a little bit, guys. I just wanted to ask one more question. Okay. Let's say that you have the opportunity to go on a UFO, on a spaceship. And you know what? I'm going to be nice and say you can both go together because I would want this for you. But you will be gone for 10 years and you can't tell anybody that you're leaving. Would you go?
Yes. That's my answer. Artemis, because we've got the girls as well. You've got the girls there. So
yeah, I have 2 girls. So it'd be hard to just not tell them.
I'll tell you what, you can do like a Swiss Family Robinson thing. They'll take you and the girls. And you guys go on like basically.
I love, by the way, Lost in Space. That's a really good reference right there.
There we go. Okay, then you guys can do that. So would you go?
Okay, then 100% I would.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
What about you can never come back?
Yeah.
I'd probably say yeah as well with that.
Damn, what if they're taking you off to like some gladiator planet where they feed you to big beasts and that's what you are? It's not awesome.
It'd be exciting. It'd be a challenge.
Hell of a way to go. Hell of a way to go.
That's when we unlock the prime time mode.
Yeah, prime time mode, yeah.
That's right.
They don't know what's coming. They don't know what hits them.
No pressure, but when you guys get married, will y'all make rings that like lock together and shit? Or like, light up or something when they touch or whatever?
Of course, yeah.
I know.
I mean, we've got so much support with that. I mean, there's so many people want us to tie the knot now as well. So,
no pressure.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. Full disclosure. I mean, we have talked about it. I know we've only been together for a short time, but we have actually talked about that. So
I'm gonna say
he's going to move across the ocean. What's another little commitment like that.
Exactly. It's just a ring at the end of the day. It's all good. Yeah.
So, as a married guy, I can say, you guys, I'm not.
Yeah. No, of course.
Love my
there's
wife
more
to
meaning
death.
to it.
Love my wife to death. But, you know, spend some time. Just take your time. Don't let anyone pressure you in anything. You'll know when it's right. It's okay. And you don't have to do a crazy thing. My wife and I did this super small thing. I think our whole wedding marriage certificate included was like $200, and that was it. And it's wonderful.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to
Honestly,
go.
that-
We had a magical
All you
time.
need, yeah.
It was great, man. So anyway, take your time on that. I am not pressuring you on a marriage. I'm just saying eventually when you guys do it and you'll know when the time is right, make them like light up or like make a song or something, you know.
we'll get cool rings for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you do at your own pace and at your own time. All right. Artemis and Josh, thank you so much. Primetime and all the ways to find them will be linked down in the show notes. You guys definitely go check my friends out. We have much more to talk about, so don't hang up just yet. But thank y'all so much for listening. And guys, thank y'all so much for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I've had a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to give a huge shout out to that adorable couple, Artemis and Josh of Primetime. All of the ways to find them, of course, guys, will be located down in the show notes. Love the work that they're doing, and keep an eye on them. They're going to be going places with this stuff here. They're really on to something, so I'm looking forward to seeing them grow, and also looking forward to doing more stuff with them in the future. So, the song that you're hearing right now is by a good friend of mine, Vinny the Saint. He sent us some new music, and this is some of it. Dude is awesome. He keeps hitting out bangers. All the ways to find him are linked down in the show notes. Down there as well is how you can expand your experience with us here on the show at expandingrealitypodcast.com. That is where links to all socials, Patreon, Rokfin, merch, all that good stuff is over there. So go check that out also, if you please. So go out into this beautiful place, whatever this thing is, and buy somebody a coffee or a meal and line around you or behind you. Be nice to everybody that you come across. Open doors, get out of the left-hand lane, pick up pieces of litter, don't litter in the first place. All of this good stuff, guys. This is nothing that this audience needs to hear, but it's just kind of a good thing to think about every now and then. Also, go out into this beautiful place, whatever this is, and y'all just be good to one another. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.